Legacy Scholars. For today's science experiment, we will be experimenting with chemical changes just like we've done in the past, but the experiment we're doing today is going to be a little bit different. So just to go over some of the things that we've learned previously, there are 6 signs that we can look for to investigate a chemical change. Those signs are color change, formation of a gas, typically carbon dioxide for a lot of the experiments that we've done, an endothermic reaction, an exothermic reaction, formation of a precipitate, and also odor change. So what we're going to do now is just review this concept. I'm going to put some Alka-Seltzer in the water, and we're going to see what kind of chemical changes we observe, and you can pause the video to write them down. In the past, we performed a vinegar and baking soda lab that was an example of a chemical reaction that created carbon dioxide. And we're just going to be performing it today for the students that weren't here to experience the lab. So for this, you will need a balloon, and I filled the balloon with 1 spoonful of baking soda, and I used a funnel to do this so it wouldn't create a mess. Next, I'm going to fill the water bottle up with 1/2 cup of vinegar. Since I have a 1/4 measuring cup, I'm going to add 2 of these into the water bottle because 1/4 plus 1/4 gives us 2/4, which is, if you simplify it, we get 1/2. So when we did this experiment as a class, we found that it is an endothermic reaction because it gets colder. Also, the students noticed that there was a color change. Once you have added the vinegar into the water bottle, what we are going to do is secure the balloon onto the water bottle, and we're going to see what happens next. So as you can see, I secured the balloon to the bottom of the water bottle to make sure that it does not come off during the reaction. Now we're going to put the baking soda into the vinegar and see what happens. So this is an example of an endothermic reaction because the water bottle gets cold, and the bubbles that you see forming is carbon dioxide. Today we will be performing a respiration lab. And I'm going to go through all the steps with you. We're going to read over the procedure and the purpose together, and we're going to set up our experiment. So what we're trying to observe is how the organisms use sugar to create energy by cellular respiration. And some of the background information is that respiration is a process by which cells take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide and energy. It is the step-by-step breakdown of high-energy glucose molecules to release energy. Energy produced from glucose by cellular respiration is required for the survival of all living things. The organelle where cellular respiration takes place in the cell is a mitochondria. The mitochondria is the organelle that makes energy from food for the cell's activities. The chemical reaction that we will be following today is this. We're going to start off with glucose, and in the process of cellular respiration, we will create ethanol and carbon dioxide. So the materials that we will be using today is yeast. This is dry yeast, a balloon. We will be using warm water. Please do not use hot water. I did that and the experiment did not turn out correct. So you want to make sure you use warm water, and you can get this from the sink. You will need a water bottle. I'm using a funnel just to make things a little bit easier. Sugar and a measuring cup. So the first thing that we're going to do is just add in the dry ingredients first. So I have a packet of yeast that I'm going to put into the water bottle. Next, I'm going to put in 3 teaspoons of sugar. Next, I'm going to be adding in 1 cup of water. Because I have a half measuring cup, I'm going to be filling this twice because a half plus a half gives us 1 cup. And make sure you're using warm water. Now before putting the balloon on top of the water bottle in the same fashion that we did for our vinegar and baking soda experiment, you want to make sure you mix these ingredients together. So what I'm doing is just mixing it. And I put the cap on just to make sure that nothing spills out. Now I'm going to put the balloon on. And this experiment takes about 20 minutes for it to work. So you're just going to put it in somewhere warm and watch your results.
Okay. Oh.
In about 20 minutes or so, the balloon that we just made will look like this one. So now let's get into science behind the experiment. The yeast uses the sugar and warm water to grow. Warm water provides heat to the yeast reaction and accelerates it, meaning it speeds it up. As yeast grows, it expands and gets bubbly. By being bubbly, the yeast gives off carbon dioxide. This is the same gas that your body produces when you breathe, and the gas inflates the balloon. The yeast also produces ethanol. Respiration provides organisms with the energy to do cellular work that helps them grow, function, and also live. People use yeast to bake because during fermentation, carbon dioxide forms bubbles in the dough and expands it. Since baking is done at high temperatures, yeast ultimately dies and nearly all the ethanol evaporates. Fermentation is a type of anaerobic respiration, meaning it occurs without oxygen. In addition to the conclusion questions that are posted on your Google Classroom, I would like you to also create a Venn diagram that compares and contrasts our vinegar and baking soda lab to our yeast lab. To complete a Venn diagram, you have to draw 2 overlapping circles like this. And on one side, you're going to label it vinegar and baking soda lab, and on the other side, you're going to label it the yeast lab. On the vinegar and baking soda lab, I want you to write 3 things that are just identified in the baking soda and vinegar lab. And in the middle, you write 3 similarities. And on the other side, you write 3 things just identified in the yeast lab. If you perform this experiment at home with a parent or guardian, please make sure to post videos and pictures and tag the Legacy Foundation of Hartford in them. I look forward to our next experiment. Happy science!